Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be creating this Masonry grid layout. You can see here I've just got a bunch of images. Well, I've repeated like the same images over and over again for the purpose of this tutorial, but we've basically got this really nice Masonry grid. So what that means is all of our items have like a nice even spacing to the top, right, bottom and left. So we've got a nice 10 pixel gap here, and the grid's not strict to like, you don't have to have a strict row alignment. So you usually, well, the most popular website for this I know of, I guess, is Pinterest. You can see that lists all of its kind of items in this masonry layout. Okay, another popular website which I love to use for inspiration is this save.it, and again you can see it's got this really nice masonry grid layout, and I took some of the images for the use in this tutorial from this website. Yeah, so the grid we've implemented, it's responsive as well. So for example, if we decrease the screen size, well, the most columns we can have is 4, but you could increase that if you wanted to. But if we decrease the screen size here, you'll see it goes to a 2-column layout. And then for mobile devices, you see we get this nice 1-column layout as well. Okay, so yeah, we're going to be doing this with pure vanilla JavaScript, no libraries or anything. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, guys. Thanks for watching. Cheers. Okay guys, so to begin, as always, I've just got the usual index.html file, the style.css here, and the app.js file. We'll just go into the index.html file first. Emmet to get the usual boilerplate code up and running. I'll just zoom in so you can see easier here. I'll just change the title to Masonry Grid Layout. And then we'll also just link to the style.css as well here in the head section, style.css, and then we'll also just do the script source to our app.js down the bottom here. Okay, so let's just get the HTML code up and running. So what I want to do here, there's not really much to the HTML section. We're just going to have in the body, we'll just have a main element here. This is going to house all of our grid and our layout. And then in here, we'll just have a div of a class of header. And then in this header, we'll just have like a h2 with, we'll just say blog for now, whatever. This could be like a blog or something like that. So all of our grid items will be like a blog post, for example. And then underneath this, we'll also just, we'll come out of the header section here, and then we'll just say, we'll have a div of a class of container, and this is going to contain the actual masonry grid layout. Okay, and we're also just going to, for now, I'm going to create another JS file here, okay, because we're going to call this, for example, we'll just say items.js for now. This will be like our, it'll mimic an API basically. We'll write some posts in here, or we'll generate some posts that we're going to utilize by the front end. Okay, so I think that's pretty much it for our HTML. We'll just link to that other items.js file as well. Okay, and make sure that's above the app.js file, okay, because this app.js file is going to be referencing the items we place in this JS file. So that's why it has to be loaded before the app.js file here. Okay, so let's open this in live server. So you won't see anything at the moment. Okay, let's bring this over here. Okay, cool. So let's just update the CSS for now. Yeah, let's just go into our style.css here, and as always, I'm just going to adjust the global settings here. So we'll just say I always like to do margin 0, padding 0, and box sizing of border box. Okay, and what this does, this will just remove, you can see our text moved here, so we have no more margins and paddings around any of our elements. Okay, so we're getting rid of that, and then I'm just going to say here as well, I think actually that'll do for now. Then we'll come to our HTML and our body. Okay, and then I'm just going to say here, at the moment we can kind of scroll. You see that we get this over scroll behavior when I scroll up. I don't want that, so I'm just going to say overflow hidden. That stops that happening. I'm actually scrolling now and nothing's happening. And then I'm also just going to have a background color of black here. Okay, so background color, I'll just do the 0000000 for a nice dark black color. actually I will change in the globals. I'm just going to have all my text white. Okay, so I just set that to white here, 6 Fs. So now we can see our text again. And that's it. Next one I want to do is just select our main element. Remember, this is the element that's going to house all of our content basically. So we'll say main. And then in here, I'm just going to say, I want to give this a fixed position. Okay, this is going to be fixed to the screen. And then basically all the content that this main element houses is going to be scrollable. Okay, so if we just set that position fixed, let's just say top 0, left 0 to fix it to the top left hand side of the viewport. And then we'll also just say a width of 100% to fill the screen horizontally and a height of 100%. And as I said before, I'm just going to set the overflow to scroll as well. Okay. As this is a fixed element, we need to set that to scroll so we can scroll the content that it contains. Okay, and then so just to show you where that is, if we set the background color to red, it should fill the whole screen. Okay, so there's our main element there. Let's delete that. And then coming out of this main element, next thing I want to do is just select the header. So say dot header as we apply the class of header in our HTML. And here I'm just going to say position fixed again, because we don't want this element to scroll. When we scroll, we want it to say fixed to the top of the screen. Again, I'm going to set the width to 100%. And we'll just set the height. Let's set the height to 100 pixels for now. Okay, so we say 100 pixels, height 100 pixels, like so. And then let's just say, set the background just so we can see what we're working with here. Red, so there's our header. I'm going to display this with flexbox. Okay, so say display flex. And then what it's about to do, we can do with this is we can adjust the actual where we can center the text easy this way. So we can just say here, line items center, and that will center our text vertically there. Next thing I'm going to do is just add some padding here. So we just say padding, and I just want it to be padding left actually. So I got one element for now. Actually, no, I'll do it for everything. So we'll say from the top and the bottom, we'll give it 0 padding, and then from the left and right, we'll just say 2 viewport widths, just to give it a really small amount of white space there to the left and to the right. Okay, so if there's an element here, we get that small white space applied as well. And then also, I'm just going to say here, we want to bring this in front of everything, so just say z index of 10. And then I'm also just going to apply a mixed blend mode to this. Okay, so I'm just going to say difference. And you'll see what this effect does later. You won't notice anything for now. I'm just going to remove that background. Okay, that's it for our header. Basically what this mixed blend difference mode will do is it will just make our text change color when it goes over different elements. Okay, so apply the difference filter to this text. Okay, so now kind of underneath this, next thing we want to do here is just get our container. I'll say dot container like so, and we're going to position this relative, and then I'm going to say here a width of 100%, and then I will say display flex again. And the reason we're displaying this with flex is because we're going to apply our grid columns here. We need them to be separated evenly horizontally in the container. Okay, so that's why we're using display flex here, and you'll see that in action shortly. And then I'm going to say gap of 10 pixels here. This will be the gap between each column of 10 pixels. And then I'm also just going to say, we want to give this some padding as well. So say padding of 100 pixels and 2 viewport widths. Okay, just to align, we get the same amount of white space, 2 viewport widths as our header here. Okay, just to make it aligned. Okay, so that's pretty much it for our container. Next, we want to do is just select the column. So let me just so we can see what we're working with for now, I'm just going to add some dummy columns in this container. Okay, so we just come into our container. I'll just say dot column like so. I'll just copy that down 3 times. We're going to be doing this with JavaScript, okay, but for now, just so you can see how we're working here. So we say dot column here, dot column, and I'm just going to say we'll give this a flex of 1. and we'll say we want to display these with flexbox as well, because we're going to list the post that each column contains vertically. Okay, so in order to do that, we're just going to say flex direction. We want it to be in the column direction. Okay, and then we'll just say yeah, and we'll give this a vertical gap of 10 as well. So say gap 10 pixels. Okay, so actually what I'm going to do within each column, I'm just going to add a post as well. Again, we'll be doing this with JavaScript. We'll add 2 posts to each column for now, just so you can see how this will look when we apply this with JavaScript. Do that for these remaining columns as well here, like so. Okay, and then we'll come back to our style.css, and then we'll just say dot post, and then here I'm just going to say position relative, and then we can say overflow hidden, like so, and then we'll just say width 100%, give these just a height of 300 pixels. It's just an arbitrary number for now, just so we can see this in a background of red. Okay, so that there you can see these are our grid items, and you can see what this gap does here. Say for example, we change in the column, we have the gap to 50 pixels. You can see we get that more white space added, and the same with this as well with our container. If we increase this gap here to 50 pixels, we get that kind of, you know, even spacing. Okay, so I'm just going to set this to 10 pixels now. I think that looks good for our grid. Okay, and then what else we're going to do here? I'm just going to we're going to be adding some images in this project. So I'll just say dot image. Oh no, actually not dot. This just be for all of our image elements. And we're just going to set the width of these images to 100%, and then I'm just going to apply. Actually, we could apply a grayscale for us, but I won't do that for now. We'll do that later. Okay, and then the next thing I want to do is add an overlay. So dot overlay, and you'll see this. We're going to append these overlay divs with JavaScript, and you'll see shortly what they do. I'm just going to say position absolute. We'll say top 0, left 0, and then we'll just say width of 100%. Height of 100%. Okay, and then we're also just going to say a background of we're going to give this a really dark grey, so 161616, like so. And then we're going to display these with flexbox as well, as they're going to include some text that we want to center. And then we're just going to say align items to the center, like so. And then we want to justify content center as well. This will center the text horizontally and vertically. And then we're just going to set the opacity to 0 at first. We don't want to see these overlay divs. Only when we hover each of our items, we want the overlay div to appear, just with some text detailing what the item is about, or the post is about, the title of the post, for example. And then we're also just going to say a transition of 0.5 seconds. This will just give us a nice subtle fade animation when we hover our items. And then the final thing in our CSS is just we're going to say when we select our post, and then when we hover our post, okay, then we're going to get that overlay div, and then we're just going to change the opacity to 1 so we can see it, and then we're going to set the cursor to pointer as well. Okay, so let's just actually do that now. If we, for example, in our post, if we just do a overlay, I won't do it for just for the first post for now. You can see we get that. That's what that overlay is doing. Okay, and then if we had some text as well in there, for example, we'll just do like a H4 hello. Now you can see we get that as text, and it's nice and centered to our overlay. Okay, so that's what that looks like. And that's pretty much it for our HTML and CSS. Okay, so the next thing I want to do here is I'm actually just going to delete these posts. So we want, we'll delete this post here. We don't want that. We just want the columns. Okay, we don't even want the columns. We want to get rid of all of that. So we just keep it at the container, because remember we're going to be applying this all with JavaScript. Okay. So yeah, we'll just delete all that out. So the next thing we want to do here is in our post, in our items.js, sorry, we're just going to create some dummy posts, okay? So what I have done previously, I have just gone to, actually it's a website called, if I just open it now, save.it. I really like this website. It actually applies, it's actually got a Masonry grid itself. So this is what we're kind of mimicking here. It's a really nice layout. And I usually come to this website just for kind of website inspiration, really. I mean, if you're into typography or kind of any poster layouts, there's loads of stuff on here you can take inspiration on. So a really good website to look at. But what I've done previously is I've just found 10 images I liked from this site, and I've just placed them into an images array, which I can copy over now just to save time. So here's my images array here. So constant images equals a new array. And we can see here I've just got 10 separate images. So for example, if I look at this one, we'll put the address in. And it's just a web address for these images. Okay, so what I've done here, we can add another one on, for example. Yeah, we'll get this one for now. If I just copy that link address, we'll say copy image address, come to our array here, add a comma, and then we'll put that address in like so. Okay, so this is our images array. Above this, I'm just going to add a posts array. So we'll say const posts equals, and that's going to be an empty array for now. So we're going to generate some dummy posts with JavaScript in this file. Okay, so underneath this, I'm just going to set a variable called image index. Okay, like so. And you'll see why I do this in a second. I'm going to set that to equal 0 at first. And then what we're going to do, we're going to create, say, around just 80 dummy posts, okay, just to get this Masonry grid layout working. So to do that, I'm just going to do a for loop here. So say for, and then we'll just say let I equal 0, and whilst I is less than 80, we'll say I plus plus, like so. Okay, so we'll go through 80 times, and then we're just going to say, for each iteration, we're just going to create a new item. So let item equal, that's going to be a new object. And in here, we'll pass in an ID. So just say 1, or ID will be I, sorry. So for the loop, for the iteration, it'll apply this ID to the post. And then we'll just say title, and then we'll just say an arbitrary post, do a template literal here, and just say I, like so. And then we'll just say image, and here we can just say images. So we want to take this images array, and then we just want to pass in that image index like so, okay? So for example, the first iteration, it will be the image index we set to 0. So this is going to take the first element. It's going to apply this address here, this first element in our images array to that image, okay? And then what we want to do is we want to say, come out of this object here, and we're just going to push this a new item. So we say push this to our posts array, which creates at the top this empty array. So say posts.push, and we'll just say item. And then we're just going to say, then we're going to increase the image index. Okay, so say image index plus plus. So this would increase the index to from 0 to 1, and then for the next iteration, for the second iteration, it will take the second image, and it will keep looping through. Okay, and then when we get to the end of our images array, obviously we've got 80 posts here, and we're only using 10 or 11 examples for the sake of this tutorial. So we're just going to say if image index is greater than images dot length, and we're going to subtract 1 here. Because obviously we have 0 index for our array. Okay, so that's why I need to just subtract 1 here. And then we're just going to say image index. We're going to reset the image index to 0, like so. Okay, so now if we console log our posts, console.log posts, come to our browser in our console, you can see we have our array of 80 post items here, and you can see for each item we have, for the first one for example, we have post 1 with the image, and it just keeps going up, post 4, post 22, and for each image. Okay, so we've got these 80 dummy records for now. You can use an API for this, but well, you would use an API really if you was working with it like this, but we just create these for now and just use it this way for this tutorial. Okay, so now if we come into our app.js file now, let's get this Masonry grid working. So we can say in our app.js file, first thing we're going to do is just get our container. So say const container equals document dot query selector. And I'm just going to say dot container here, like so. And then kind of underneath this, we're going to create a function. We're going to say generate Masonry grid. Spell that right, Masonry grid. Okay, and what this is going to do is going to take in columns. So this is the number of columns we want our grid to be. And we're taking this because we want this to be responsive. So for example, it look good on mobile devices as well as desktop or laptop PCs. And then we say posts as well. And this is going to be the posts array that we created in that previous items file. Okay. And then each time we generate this function, we basically want to just clear the container HTML, okay? Because we're going to create a new grid every time this function runs, okay? So for example, when we readjust the screen size, we'll be generating this, or we'll be running this function. So we need to clear out the previous HTML to load a new grid. So I'm just going to say inner HTML, inner HTML equals blank, like so. And then, so we're going to set a variable here. So it's going to be called let column wrappers. That's going to just equal a blank object for now. Okay, and this is just going to be used to store all of our column arrays which contain the relevant posts. Okay, so you'll see this soon, relevant posts. And then underneath this, we're gonna do a for loop next. Okay, so we're gonna say for, and then we're gonna say let I equal 0, and then we're gonna say here, whilst I is less than the columns number we pass in up here, we're just gonna say I plus plus. Okay, and then what we're gonna say here, we're gonna say const. We're gonna say column wrappers, and then we're gonna create a new item within this column wrappers object. Okay, so we're going to say column, and then we're going to do a template literal here. So these are backticks I'm using to do this template literal, and then we'll pass the I or the iteration variable in there, and we're just going to set that to equal an empty array. Okay, so for now, just so you can see what that's done, if we console log column wrappers and we run this function, we'll say generate Masonry grid. And I'm going to pass in 4, so if we want 4 columns, and I'm just going to pass in, remember in our items we called this posts here, let's just comment that out, so I'm just going to say posts here. Okay, so now if we console log column wrappers, which you've done, we should now get this object, and you can see what we've done is basically just created 4 items which are all arrays basically, and these arrays are going to contain each of the posts which are going to be displayed in each column. Okay, so we have 4 columns here. If we change this to 2 columns, you'll see we only get 2 items or 2 columns generated. So that's how this works. Okay, so we'll keep it at 4 for now. And then what we want to do, so coming after this point here, we're next going to do another for loop. So let's just comment this as we go. So we'll just say create column item array and add this to column wrapper object. Okay, and then after this we're just going to do a for loop. So we're going to say for, we're going to say let I equal 0, and this time we're going to say whilst I is less than posts dot length. Okay, so in this case our post was about 80. We can do that now actually if we console.log posts.length, say I plus plus. So you see, yeah, we get 80 in the console there. And then what we want to do, so for each of our posts, we're going to say, first we need to do is just work out which column our post should be assigned to, which post our column should be assigned to. So say const column equals, and we're going to take I, and then we're just going to say mod columns. Okay, and that should be n. And then what we can do here now is we're going to say column wrappers, sorry. And then we want to take column, and then we're going to do a template literal here, and we're going to pass in that column variable we just created. And then we're just going to say after this, remember these are arrays, so we can use the push method here. And then we're just going to push that posts iteration. Okay, so now if we console.log our column wrappers, you'll see now for each of our columns, the posts have been added to our columns. Okay, so you can see for the first column, for example, we have 0, 4, 8, 12. So that's the thing about Masonry grids. Okay, we want, like, for example, if you had 4 columns, we want the top 4 posts to be displayed at the top. We don't want it to be listed in each column, so it's important that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then underneath the 1 we'd have the 4th, the 5th, and then the 6th and the 7th post. So that's what this Masonry grid, this is what this function is doing. Okay, we're basically using the mod operator to assign our posts in that pattern. Okay, so coming underneath this, next thing we want to do is now we're just going to create each of our elements or each of our posts. So let's do that. Let me just tie this up a bit. Okay, we'll come under here. So it's another for loop. I'm going to say for let I equal 0, whilst I is less than columns this time. We're going to say I plus plus. And then here, I'm just going to say let column posts equal, and then we're just going to say column wrappers, and then we're just going to take, we do the backticks here, column, and then we do a template literal I. Okay, so we're just getting, for each column, we're just getting all the array of all of our posts first. Okay, so that's what this column post variable is. So this will house all of the array of all of our posts for the column we're on. And then what we're going to do here is we're just going to say, we're going to create a new div. So we say let div equal document.createElement. We want to create a div like so. And then we're going to just give this div a class. So we say div.classList dot add. And then we're just going to add the column class. Remember, we're adding this column class just so it applies our CSS that we applied here, just to make sure this is displayed with flex of 1 to space them evenly in the container, and then just present the posts in a column format, so underneath each other, and have this gap as well of 10 pixels. Okay, so once that's done, next thing we're going to do is just loop through each of the column posts in this array we created here. So we'll just say, we'll use a for each method here. Okay, so column posts dot for each, and then I'll just say post. Okay, so this is pretty much a for loop, but if you're not familiar with for each, it's an ES6 syntax. So basically we can just pass in each of our posts here like this, and then we can just, as I said, it works like a for loop really. So for each of our posts within each column, we're just going to say let post div equal document. What I'm going to do here, actually, I'm just going to say let column, just to make this easier to read. Okay, because div's not very specific. I'll just say the column.classList. Okay, like so. So let post div. Next, we're going to create a div for our individual posts. So we just say document.createElement. We'll create a div, and then underneath this, we'll give this a post. We'll say post div dot class dot add, and we're going to just add the post class here, just so our CSS is applied. And then next thing we're going to do is say let image equals document.createElement. We'll say image here, and then the image, we need to apply the source for this image. Okay, so remember, if we console.log our posts here, you'll see, open this up, you remember when we generated our post, we have this image source here. So for each image, if we just say, we'll come under here and we'll just say image dot source equals, and we can just say here, because we passed in with this for each, we use this post variable here, so we can just say post dot image, like so. Okay, and then underneath that, we're just going to say let overlay equal, and we're just going to say we're going to create another div here. Create that div, and then we'll just say overlay dot class list add. Just say overlay like so, and then final thing we want to do here is just let title equal document dot create element. I want to create an h3, so this is going to just be the title we add to our overlay. We'll just say title dot inner text. Remember, we had a title within each of our post objects as well, so we can just say, well, same thing really. We can just, instead of we can want this title here, so we can just say title inner text equals post dot title, like so. Okay, and now what we need to do is I'm just going to say overlay div or overlay dot append child. We can append that title like so, and then we can just say post div after this. So the first div we initially created for our post, we'll say post div dot append, and here we would just want to append the image and the overlay. Okay, and then basically finally after this, just the final append we need to do is just need to append this post div to our column. Okay, so we can now just say column dot append child and we just say post div. Okay, and now coming out of this for each loop, final thing we need to do is just append this column to our container. Okay, so we can now say container dot append child, and here we'll just say column. Okay, and now you can see we have our grid layout there, like so. Okay, so it's not measured at the moment, we're nearly done. What we need to do is I just need to apply, well, remove this CSS really. So we take out that height of 300 pixels, and that should be it. And now you can see we have that nice masonry kind of grid layout applied. Okay, and one thing I'm noticing here is we're not actually getting our overlay appearing. So let's see what's going on there. If we come back to our app, we got the overlay. Let's just check our elements. Doesn't look like. No, all we're getting in our post is the image. So why is that not? Okay, let's just change that to append. And now you can see, yeah, we get our overlay applied. Okay, cool, so that's working. One thing I do want to do actually is just change that font, because I hate this generic font we get. I love Inter. Inter's a good font to use, so I'm just going to use this. Let's just use this light version here. So what you do here with Google Fonts, how do we select this? Okay, yeah, so yeah, we'll select that, and then we'll take this link tag here. I'll put this in our index.html at the top. Okay, clean this up a bit. And then we'll just apply the CSS as well. So enter. I'll just put this in our global parameter here. So for everything, we'll just say like so. So now we should have that nice inter font applied. Okay, and that's looking good. And you can see, obviously, they're going in order now. So we have 0, 1, 2, 3. What I might do actually is just change this to be 1. Since post 0 doesn't really make sense to many people. And then we'll just say, what's that's less than or equal to 80. Okay, so now you can see we have post 1, post 2, post 3, post 4, post 5, post 6, post 7, post 8. Okay, so that's a true Masonry grid layout. Okay, so next what we need to do is just make this responsive. So let's do that now. I'm going to do that with JavaScript. And to make this responsive, we need to do a few things here. So I'm just going to say, first we need to do is just set a previous screen size variable. So I'm going to say let previous screen size equal, and we're just going to set that when we load the page to window.innerWidth. Okay, so that just gives you the width of the viewport. So just to show you, console.log previous screen size. Okay, and that's our screen size, so 1648 pixels. Okay, so what we want to do now is we're going to say window.addEventListener. We want to listen up for a resize event. Okay, so this is when the user resizes their browser window. We'll do an arrow function here, and here I'm just going to reset the image index to 0. Okay, and that will just reset the image index in this file here, just to make sure we're loading the image from the beginning again when we resize our screen. And then the next thing I want to do is we're just going to say, we're going to do a few if statements here. So I'm just going to say if window dot inner width is less than 600 pixels, and we want to say and the previous screen size is greater than or equal to 600 pixels. Then what we want to do here is we're just going to set that generate Masonry grid layout, but we just want to have one column for a screen size of less than 600 pixels. Okay, we'll pass that posts in. So now what you'll see is if we move our viewport to less than 600, you can see we get one column applied now. Okay, and now I just need to adjust this for when we change this back. Okay, so now underneath this we'll say else if, and then we're going to say window.innerWidth, and we can say here if it's greater than or equal to 600 pixels, and the window.innerWidth, so this is for like medium sized screen sizes, this point here, inner width is less than 1000 pixels, and we can say here we need to just add 2 more points in here. Okay, we're going to say we need to do a bracket here, and we'll say if previous screen size is either less than, if the previous screen size was less than 600, or the previous screen size, let me just make this bit, previous screen size was greater than or equal to 1000, then we'll come out of this and we'll just say generate Masonry grid, and we want just two columns here, and again we'll pass in that posts array. Okay, and then finally just for larger screens, so we'll just say we'll do another else if, we'll say window.innerWidth is greater than or equal to 1000 pixels, and we'll say and the previous screen size is, and then we're looking out for if it was less than 1000 pixels, then we'll just say generate Masonry grid, and we'll just say 4 columns, and then we'll just say yeah, we're passing that post as well. Okay, so now this should work. If we come back to our app here, so we resize our screen. Okay, so that's working. If it's great, if our previous screen size, if window.innerWidth is greater than or equal to 600, and the window.innerWidth is less than 1000, and the previous screen size was less than 600, or previous screen size was greater than or equal to. Okay, let's just try one more thing. Because obviously when we load our page, we need to adjust it. We need to do this kind of logic as well. So we can say the same thing here. So coming out of this add event listener on the window, this is for when the page initially loads up. So page load, we'll just say if previous screen size is less than 600, and we can just say again generate with one column, else if previous screen size is greater than or equal to 600 and previous screen size is less than 1000, then we'll just say with generate with 2 columns, and we can just say else here, just generate with 4. Okay, so now you can see, yeah, we're getting that applied. Okay, so it's not working to go back to 2 columns. Let's just see what's going on there. Oh, that's what we need to do as well. So yeah, coming out of this, when we resize our screen, we just need to reset the previous screen size. So we say previous screen size equals window dot inner width, like so. Okay, so now if we come back, so yeah, you can see that's working now. Okay, so when we go between 600 and 1000 pixels, we get that nice 2 column layout. Okay, and then when we go above 1000, we get that 4 column layout. Okay, so that's how you kind of just make it responsive with JavaScript. And that's why in this function, every time we resize or generate this Masonry column, we call this function, we need to clear the inner HTML first, just so we can recreate the grid and append it to the container. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I mean, obviously, you know, there's a fair bit of code to implement these Masonry grid layouts. I really do think they look cool, and I understand there is there's due to be a Masonry CSS grid implementation, but as far as I'm aware, it only works in Firefox at the moment, and I'm not sure if there's due to be an official release. But you know, I think this is cool to do stuff with JavaScript. Sometimes I enjoy working this stuff out, so I think this looks really cool, this Masonry grid layout. Obviously, you see this on sites like Pinterest and yeah, this site here, this save.it site, and yeah, it just looks really smart, I think. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, guys. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't. Yeah, it really helps the channel. And yeah, I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.